Thank you for joining us. My name is Geri Gingras.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Volunteer Spotlight brought to you by Aftersight. Hope everybody had themselves an excellent February and hope you guys have been enjoying the spring, not so spring, but then, spring weather, because it's definitely been kind of an up and down roller coaster as in that realm. But, hope you guys have enjoyed that. Before we get into the show today, there are a couple of little announcements I would like to get out of the way. Aftersight will be launching a new sports podcast beginning in, I believe, the month of May. And we're still kind of playing around with names and everything, but it's quite exciting. It's going to focus around particularly blind-related sports such as beep baseball and go ball. If you guys haven't heard of go ball, go check it out. I'd strongly encourage it. Also, because Easter is coming up at the end of the month, we have another discount for our podcast shoutouts. So if you have a special little message, a congratulatory message or like a love note or something you'd like to have one of our hosts read to your special someone, you can go to aftersight.org/shoutout and use the code EGG with a capital E, and that'll get you 50% off your shout-out. Lastly, if you have any feedback on this show, I'm always open for suggestions, or if you have feedback on any of our other shows, always feel free to email feedback@aftersight.org. And if you have any particular questions for our hosts or suggestions, we have a feedback line, so you can give us a call at 720-712-8856. I'm sure, as you guys have heard in the intro, the volunteer of the month for March is Geri Gingras. She's been here for about 5 years and has been a reader of the Boulder Daily Camera, and she is joining me here in the studio today. So welcome to the podcast, Geri. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Evan. Thank you.
Absolutely.
How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
Just getting the creative juices flowing. It's a little early morning for me, but, it's a good time here. I always like to jump right in with a couple of little random fun questions just to get our creative juices flowing.
Okay.
So, Geri, around this time, almost springtime, what is your favorite seasonal activity to do around this time?
Well, I love to walk, and for me, the springtime is special because all of the little daffodils are starting to bloom and, the other little flowers. So to me, it's like a new awakening after the winter. We've had kind of a little unusual winter this year, I think. So it'll be nice to get into springtime.
Especially, when we get more of those sunny days and you can actually go and smell the flowers and see all the pretty blooms and everything.
Yeah, that's right. And get outside more.
Yes, indeed. It's actually very therapeutic.
Yes, it is. As a matter of fact, I think they've done research on this, and being in the sunshine is a real must, because not only the vitamin D, but they're finding that it helps with things like depression, for instance, and sadness. Some people have what they call SADS, SADS, which is seasonal affective disorder, and it really helps with that.
That's interesting, and that's also great information. I've heard it called light therapy or light exposure therapy, but it's like, it's like kind of the thing where you start your day off, open the blinds, yes, the light is blindingly bright, but it's a good way to like kind of start the day off, I guess. And there are so many benefits. So strongly encouraged.
Yeah, it's real healthy.
Mm-hmm. And last up, what is your favorite form of audio content to listen to? Music, audiobooks, or podcasts?
I have to say podcasts, I've listened not to a whole bunch of them, oddly enough, but I've listened to podcasts about, for instance, one of the ones that I found fascinating was the one about Bo Bergdahl, who I think this was done by NPR. And I don't know if a lot of people don't know or recognize his name. He was a soldier and he was in Afghanistan and left his troop members. I don't know what you call that in military language, but he left the site that they were on and just walked away and was captured by the Taliban. And there was a lot of controversy about what he did and why, and whether it was criminal and whether he should be charged. But they did a beautiful job of interviewing even some of the Taliban members. And they interviewed him, of course, and his parents and the person who helped to raise him, which was a neighbor. And it was absolutely fascinating. And I've listened to others as well, and I just find them really engaging, although I do love to listen to music, and I love to I've listened to audiobooks, in particular for talking books. When the pandemic started, I couldn't go into the studio and do any recording like I normally do, but I did from home listen to other recordings, and I had to rate them in regards to, if there was any content in them that might offend somebody or might harm somebody emotionally, So we did it like you see on movies occasionally. Is there violence? Is there sexuality? Is there harsh language? Things like that. So that was kind of fun. But yeah, other than that, I would definitely say the podcasts, I think they're different. They're very entertaining and very informative.
Indeed, and they're very much evolving. It used to just be talking, but now we're seeing a lot more like live recordings of even events and demos and other things like on these podcasts. They have anything from meditation podcasts to gardening to cooking to technology. I mean, the possibilities are limitless at this point.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Indeed. What's your favorite kind of music?
My favorite kind of music is actually R&B. I like bluegrass. I do like some of the newer artists. I really like. I like Taylor Swift. I like. I'm not a big fan of rap music, although that being said, there is some rap music that I really do like. There are rap bands in France that I heard by accident one time, and it was absolutely beautiful. Yeah, so there's a lot of rap music that I do like. Honestly, most of it I don't, but my favorite is R&B and the old Motown I absolutely love. So, yeah.
It just gets you going, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Absolutely.
Makes you want to dance.
Indeed. Well, Geri, have you had any prior experience recording audio or doing any voiceover work before volunteering for Aftersight?
Oh, yes. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I started with an organization at the time called RFBD. That stands for Reading for Blind and Dyslexic. And I worked for them. I volunteered for them for several years. I think probably about 6 or 7 years. And they changed their name to Learning Ally. And what happened was at Learning Ally, they did nothing but read college textbooks for students that were visually impaired. And so that was very interesting. But for some reason, when they changed over to Learning Ally, they closed all of their offices, most of them throughout the United States. And so the one in Colorado, in Denver here, was done. And so I decided I didn't want to just stop doing what I was doing, because it's very important to me for personal reasons. And so I went and applied to Talking Book Rock Library, Colorado. And I started volunteering there, and that was probably, I think, about 7 years ago. And the person that I recorded with, they set you up with partners there. And the lovely man that I recorded with suggested that I come to, at the time, AIN Colorado, which is now Aftersight, and suggested that I read, for you. And so I was more than happy to do that. I was thrilled, actually, to do it. And so I've been doing that for the last 5 years, as you mentioned.
Absolutely. And you actually had an incredible story about kind of what got you into, reading for the blind and low vision community. Would you mind sharing that?
Oh, I'd love to share it with you. Yeah, when I was still working, when I first started at RFBD, prior to that, my mother has a genetic issue with macular degeneration. And I watched my mother go through losing her eyesight little by little over the years. And I just felt like she was so good about it. She just tried very hard to make her way on her own independently in life. She never complained, Evan. I don't remember her ever complaining. But the one thing I do remember is that one time she said to me, "You know what, Geraldine?" None of my family calls me Jerry. They all call me Geraldine.
Yeah, your full name.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that until a few months ago. I saw your booking. I was like, "Oh, wait, that's your full name."
It's Geraldine, yeah.
Okay.
And I have multiple nicknames, as you can imagine, from sisters who couldn't pronounce my name. So
I'm sure
it gets kind of fun. But anyway, my mother said to me, the one thing I miss is reading. She used to love to read, and she could no longer read. So when I was looking for volunteer work to do, I decided that I'm not a real talented person. I'm not a dancer. I'm not an artist. I don't have a lot of things that I can give back to the world. And so I decided that the one thing I could do, I can read, and I do have a voice. And I thought, there was, in the Denver Post, there was a whole segment of the Denver Post one weekend that had nothing but volunteer opportunities. So I was starting to peruse the volunteer opportunities, and I saw RFBD, and I thought, you know what? I can do that. I can do that, and that's something where not only can I give back to the community, but I can do something right in line with what my mother could have used when she was alive. And I thought, what better way to memorialize my mom and her bravery and courage in light of the macular degeneration than giving back to the same community in which she finally belonged. So this is, and it continues to be, very, very important to me. And I actually love doing it. Yeah.
That's absolutely heartwarming to hear.
Yeah.
What was one of your most memorable moments with Aftersight?
Well, in order to start volunteering here, I had to come in, do an interview, and I also had to do a trial run of recording. And they had given me a number of words that were difficult to pronounce. A lot of people would not know the pronunciation. So you do take a little test. The most memorable thing for me was when I got the okay that I was accepted to come and volunteer here. So that was very, very exciting for me because I was really looking forward to it.
Absolutely. When things went remote, how did you handle the transition from going in person to remote?
Well, That is an excellent way to prove my devotion to this organization, because me and technology, we don't mix real well. But at the time when this did happen, I was told to just go online using my computer, and I had to set myself up at home with the Audacity software and the computer, the computerized version of the Boulder, Longmont, Northern Colorado newspapers. So doing that for me was difficult, and but I'm going to tell you something. If it weren't for Alex, who works for you at the time, I don't know, I probably wouldn't have been able to do it because of the incredible support that I got and the help and the patience and so many other things. I was able to successfully set myself up and do the program. So I would do it from home every week, and it worked fine. I could still do it today if I wanted to. I just prefer coming in the office, mostly so that I can talk with you and Evan and Alex and Jennifer, because I really have to say I enjoy all of you, and I appreciate you so, so much. I do.
Well, thank you. Yes, we enjoy getting to see you every Friday. It's always a pleasure. Would you mind kind of describing what your recording setup at home looks like? Because the audio quality it's generally been quite good from your home setup. And that's one of the hardest things to get set up, especially remotely, because, you run into all sorts of things with different mics and recording levels and settings and room, and even your recording environment. You might have a really echoey living room or bedroom or wherever. You might have to go record in like a clothing closet if you can, like stuff like that. But yeah, I'm curious, what's your setup look like?
Well, you're giving me way too much credit. I can tell you that right now. My recording setup actually works best, and the sound quality is best I've found from my bed.
Oh.
So I have a particular setup. This is kind of funny. I prop myself up in the bed. I have these big pillows, that are decorative pillows.
Right.
I put one of them on my lap, and I take my computer and I put it on top of that pillow. And then I take my Samsung tablet and I get the Boulder Daily News up on the tablet, and I sit up and I just read with the pillows. And I have a pillow that supports my arm with the tablet in it. So it is the most unsophisticated thing you could ever imagine. But oddly enough, I've tried it in my guest bedroom where I have a desk and I have a big, big monitor. And the sound quality, I just can't get it right in there. So normally, if I record from home, and all through the pandemic, I recorded from bed.
Yeah. I'm so glad I kept this question in. This has to be one of probably the most unique answers I've gotten. That's incredible. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, well, it's the only thing that worked. And because I would have to wake up early in the morning, and I'm not an early morning person, it kind of made a nice transition, into the rest of the day.
Absolutely. So. Now, I'm sure, you read the Boulder Daily Camera every Friday, so I'm sure you've seen some doozy articles here. Is there a particular article that you read in any of the papers that is, just stuck with you?
I'm trying to think back. Boy, I'm sorry, my mind has just gone blank. Usually what does surprise me, though, I have to admit, is when I always think of Boulder as being so unencumbered with crime. And so whenever I see stories about criminal activity in Boulder, I have to admit it always does surprise me. So maybe if anything sticks in my mind, it would be the surprise that I entertain when I see some of the criminal activity here. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's your favorite kind of content to read?
My favorite kind of content are usually human interest stories that come up. Things where people have done something for someone else, and or things that are going on in the community. I like reading that kind of stuff where there are presentations about musical entertainment or, art shows or things like that. That I like to read. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, Geri, it is now your turn. Do you have any questions that you'd like to ask for the entirety of Aftersight?
One of the questions I have would be, why the change of name, and did you actually change other things along with just the name? I mean, is the organization different? That was kind of a surprise.
I'll bet it was, and that's a great question. Short answer, yes, and actually I don't have a third part for that. But yes, so we changed our name from the Audio Information Network of Colorado, I kind of miss saying it like that, to Aftersight for a multitude of reasons. The biggest one being that when we were at resource fairs or things like that, people would often mistake us for like an audiologist a couple of times, and people would be like, hey, can my mom, get her hearing aids fixed or get a pair here or what have you? And people would just often confuse us. And even when we were being introduced to at events by other people, it was just really hard. Like the name, while it was technically what we did, as a service, it didn't describe, and people, we had to explain what we did, and it was a lot more work, and we didn't really feel like people had a clear understanding. So that's part of it. And the other thing is that, Audio Information Network of Colorado is also just it's a mouthful of a name too. So we wanted something that was more short and sweet to the point, but that also reflected on our mission as an organization. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it was definitely a bit of a surprise.
Well, I think you nailed it then with Aftersight, because it's easy
great
to say, easy to remember, and it does accurately describe, I think, what you do.
Absolutely. And it was also the name of our one. Actually, it was our first original, Aftersight original. Originally, it was Community Conversations, and then a couple episodes later, we changed it to Aftersight, hosted and still hosted by Penn Street. But yeah, since we changed the name of the organization, obviously we kind of need to change the name of the Aftersight podcast. So actually, the Aftersight podcast ended up becoming The Blind Chick.
Mm-hmm, I saw that on the website, yeah. And I'm going to be good because I do love podcasts. I intend to go through that website and listen to every one of them.
Absolutely.
Just
well,
out
thank
of curiosity.
You so much.
Yeah.
Of course, absolutely. Do you have any questions for me, Evan Starnes?
I'll be honest with you, Evan. You've been so good at being, proactive and doing things to help me out. And, I actually talk to people about you all the time because I think that you're a perfect example of, how to make it in this world and be successful in this world with some physical, I don't want to say disabilities, but with some physical challenges, Mm-hmm. And I just think you're just so inspirational. And like I said, I talk to a lot of people about you, including my granddaughters, who as teenagers, they can complain about just about anything. So yes, I mean, I can't think of any questions, but I'm glad I got an opportunity to say these things to you.
Thank you. That means a lot. Well, Lastly here, do you have any words of advice or inspiration you'd like to share with new prospective, volunteers or even some existing volunteers?
Yeah, I think the one thing that I got, and I would say this to people who are even thinking of volunteering, I went into volunteering with the idea that I was going to give back to this community and this world, and that was my way of doing it. However, what I wasn't expecting, and it was the pleasant surprise, is what I get back from doing this. It makes you feel very valuable. It makes you feel like you've got something to give back that's very important. And I find that when you give to somebody, what you get out of it is tenfold. So I would say that to any prospective volunteers and existing volunteers. I think we all experience it. It's kind of like you kind of don't realize it until you sit down and really think hard about it, what you actually get out of this.
Wow. That's incredible. Geri, I'd like to personally thank you for joining me today under the Volunteer Spotlight. I hope you definitely hope you enjoyed the interview as much as I did interviewing you. It was a blast.
Well, I did enjoy it, and I feel very honored, and I'm very, very happy that you asked me to do this. It was really nice. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you guys so much for listening to the Volunteer Spotlight. Maybe we should keep that in. That's kind of funny.
I would keep it in, Evan.
Okay. This is the thing. Interviews sometimes can have their funny little kerfuffles every so often. So.
No kidding.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all so much for joining me today for the Volunteer Spotlight. I hope everybody has a happy Easter and get outside and enjoy that amazing spring weather, because it's going to get up into the 90s and stuff pretty soon before you know it. Anyway, I've been your host, Evan Starnes, and I will see you all next month.